This day 743 of the Arukh HaShulchan. If you like to sponsor, come and share more of the Arukh HaShulchan, please contact me directly. Be greatly appreciated. They were then with Simon Tufkin Hey Zain to Tufkin Vav Beis. Sign the Chatchili issue showed me Naros Balon Ben Aberos, but it's preferable to draw water from rivers, not from wells. Because at the time that Chazal were masaking this, they believed that the sun went under the earth and therefore heated up the wells. On the other hand, when the rivers are enlarged by the melt of snow and by rain, it's best to draw the water from wells. Because in the river they're always going to be warm because of the I guess because of the sun which beat down and melted the snow and somehow heat up the river, the water of the rain. Since that's always a problem in our country, that's where the river flow comes from. We always take the water from wells. It's not an impediment. If there's only a river, we always take water from the river. In places there's only wells, we always take from the wells. Even though there's a custom to toss out all the water which is in containers at the time that there is a dead person in the vicinity, or at the time when the seasons change. And let's just keep in mind, we don't do this by the water is left overnight. It's not appropriate to throw them out. The shomer mitzvah because it's taken for the purpose of mitzvah, then they are safe. We are safeguarded. The same shas of gufa emin klaus. We don't have this meaning anymore to smell the water when the seasons change. Rakiyashim besim barzel. Somebody put a piece of metal in the water at that time. But you should not put the metal in your hand with your hand into the water because your hand heats up the water. The Shemura says that if you can't get other water easily, then he says you should throw out the water when there's a mace or it's the kufa. But if you prepare the water for a matzah's mitzvah, that's okay. That's where you made it for other mitzvahs. In other words, other matzahs, not for the matzah's mitzvah. So then you should pour out the water. It's not made for the mitzvah. If you prepare for the matzah's mitzvah, then don't throw them out unless it's very easy to get other water in its stead. Okay. Shishiva Samayim Lamatzah, Father Matzah Shemitza Yadei Sogaro. The drawing of the water should be by an adult Jew. Shasa Shiva in the time that he draws the water, Yomar should say, L'shem Matzah's Mitzvah. The purpose of the Matzah Mitzvah. You should not use a non-Jew for the purpose. Mishnah says, so you shouldn't put chametz in. Nevertheless, if it's not an impediment because you can always strain the water anyway. But it says here again, the Mishnah says, "Oish v'loid idei enuti, by non-Jew v'loid ekon, nor by chag lechavev mitzvah." The more precious mitzvah is done by an adult Jew. Matzah's mitzvah for the matzah of the mitzvah first night Pesach. Not only ma'im yuchadim v'kli micheres, you take special water in a special vessel. Rabbeinu Akasav shenogim likach licheres chadoshim. Moshe says you take new pottery vessels, but English shows the meaning. You should not deviate from the minhag. We shall eight in like me, but it's okay if it's a wooden barrel as well. Kind of show. Same show we shall eight or we shall matchos. By us, we draw either with wooden vessels or with metal vessels. Vadliim shall matchos atzuyim en kpeda. And if you have colored buckets, it's not a problem. Ki ein b'hem chashash chimuz because once on a time the dyes had chametz in them, which is royal achilles I guess, but not as manaseh. Besides it's cold and it's for a short amount of time, it's not a problem altogether. Test cuts for Rabbi says to be base. It says right, water which is collected in a cistern. You can use them to knead the dough. right after they're drawn. But it should not be lenient unless it's a shas. This is water which is gathered in a large structure. From that structure, the water goes through pipes to other places. In the structure, or the way that Arukh HaShulchan explains, understands it's not a cistern in the ground like you have in ancient times, but rather it is a more like a water tower. It has a roof and has a floor and has walls. And the sun does not enter there. It says, since no sun enters, you should be allowed to use immediately. But the conclusion is only to be lenient at a time when there are extenuating circumstances. Sometimes they're not cold. And then you will not be able to knead dough with them. So to water which comes to pipes in large cities. The dinam kame be'eros. Our water does not come to waterworks is like well water. And you have to draw them bein hashmashos of the evening before. The water at the tip of the faucet, you should spill out because they're not cold. They got warmed up because to room temperature. The plumps, also when you have pumps, pump water. You spoke with you should pour out a little bit of the previous water. Which made that the nation Shorosham because they made that it's time to get a little bit warm. Yud od kasab dal maim shlo lanu, water which is not held overnight. She's bat luchat betrayed maim shlo, which was nullified in a proportion of 1 in 2 parts water which was left overnight. Lush maim you can use in order to knead the dough. Akan l'shono, end quote. In this case, they certainly also became cooled down. Betray. Also specifically a ratio of 1 to 2. El shetei rov maim shlo. The majority should be of water which is left overnight. Those who say you're allowed to mix water right out of the tap with water which is left overnight, you're not nullifying prohibited substance. This is not. There's no prohibition involved here. As to cooling down. When majority is they are cool down. Nowadays, we're very lenient about this type of mixture. Because we have a tremendous amount of matzahs to bake in one day. We have very little water left, which we can leave overnight. But in other words, we don't have facilities to leave that large amount of money, large amount of water overnight. So you have to make do with mixtures. Anyway, in our northern countries, we see with clarity. The water in the ground is very cold before Pesach. That's when you make lean by a mixture as well. What happens if you violated this principle and you needed dough with water which is not left overnight? The Rif and the Rambam say it's also b'diavad. Rashi v'arosh use normal water. It's okay. The issue is some say b'shogig mutzah. Inadvertently, it's permissible. Basically, deliberately, also it's forbidden. Shas if it's really extenuating circumstances. Such as when he has no other water. You can use those mayim shalolanu b'shogeg. In other words, it happens not deliberately. It just says chatchila, you can't do it, even though we don't have other water. And Shiyam Pesach, other things than matzah. But he says perhaps in the first day of Pesach, in order not to negate the mitzvah to say the Raisa, you could be lenient and use regular, so to speak, tap water. Okay, back to Arukh HaShulchan Avar. If you're ready, it's b'diavad. You're ready made, violated, and you lush and use water which was not left overnight. But shogim mutzar, if it was done inadvertently, it's mutzar. I feel below shas l'chak, even if there aren't extenuating circumstances. In other words, it's not shas l'chak because That's on the matzah anyway. Milu zel vate, but this is clear. Shalikach matzahs ela matzahs mitzvah b'layla rishon sheinim adorim. We should not use these matzahs for matzahs mitzvah, even though they might be kosher, it might be lishma, but it's not mehuda because the mayim shlanu is missing. Vaz and besides this, the Yeshua Shem the Dor Shem say Shomrim Kolikar Islam mayim shelo lonu. Prohibition not to use water which is not left overnight. The raka matzahs mitzvah. It's only for the matzah used in the mitzvah kosher lev tu b'shem aran. B'shem reads geus. Barita Ayin Sham. But die shon the make shamim lo skar klabedin zet. With any words I mentioned all in this halacha. Neither the make shamim tzrichim vade shir yubesh los. Rain water he thinks for sure needs to wait 12 hours. Shanu roim b'chush kampayin yesh b'ktzatz chamimus. See, rainwater, that was Mishnah referred to before, rainwater does have some heat to it. Shmuel says rain, which is caught from the air, you don't have to spend time overnight. I guess only they fall on the ground. The Sharatzion says that that's specifically if they came down at night, but in the day, they might actually get warm. The Baz says, however, no matter what, I guess it's mutter. Okay? Good base. Dara Pasha, it's clear. You can't use hot water to knead the dough. I feel like it's even though it got hot by being on the sun. Even hot water which already cooled down, you're not allowed to use to knead the matzah. Because they still have some residual heat. Shatzion says, he brings down different opinions, but okay, it's not important for our purposes. Right, so even if they cool down altogether, some people say you can't use them to knead the dough. Some people permit it, and you can rely on b'shas chak or epsim merubah, such as if you already use that water to knead the dough of many matzahs. Okay, back to the Arukh HaShulchan. V'chein also lusha b'mayim shenasnu b'dud gadol. Can't use water which is put in a large cauldron. Shenechoshto ava, which has thick copper, and is standing by the fire. Even though it's not getting warm right now, nevertheless, a cold water. Inside now, so potion they can move warm. Because this large cauldron can hold heat for several days. If you violated and did use this water, need the dough. Even if you did it inadvertently. Even their extenuating circumstances. And if you didn't do it for the purpose of matzahs mitzvah, also b'diavad, still also in all these circumstances, even b'diavad. I'm not sure what the Mishnah writes to you, but I'm here. Kishalosh my poshrim. If you use lukewarm water, also can b'diavad. That's also b'diavad. You would give also the 10 melech and matzah are not allowed to put salt in the matzah. Melech mechamesa because salt heats up the dough. And people insult to peppers. That's the widespread minhag. I feel the also even the evidence also in the chance you shouldn't change deviate from it. The evidence also in the evidence if you put in that add ingredients it's also. The Mishnah and the Pichar says a little bit of salt is okay. The evidence. If you shogeg. So he says, definitely can be made in lightly salted matzahs. And the Halacha writes to the Chaber, it's not even also with the Evet. It's not also with the Evet. According to Ramah, it's also not also with the Evet. With our water, which is made from sea salt, it's only a problem with salt, which is mined from the ground. And in any event, but if you put a lot of salt, even sea salt would be a problem. Okay. The ocha matzah melucha, somebody eats salted matzah as if they didn't come at sham. Enough of gargir melech toch Easter, like Mishnah said, if a solitary crystal of salt fell into the dough, we shouldn't answer it. Is that gargir lo tit matzah? This grain of salt will not cause it to become, will not cause the dough to become chametz. Be careful though to bake it with it immediately. If you use I don't know, ketzach, some sort of spice, tar type thing, and sesame, minei tavin shen and other types of herbs which are not sharp. And the sort of matzah, you don't for the matzah, kimish batam matzah, as long as it has the taste of matzah. Matzah's mitzvah, and you'll see, but for the purpose of the mitzvah matzah, you can't use it. The ain't lechamoni. Filled matzah, tasty matzah. It's not going to be lechamoni. Mishnah says, no, you are yotze the first night, and therefore now to eat Erev Pesach. But some say that this is included in what's called matzah shira, and they wouldn't be yotze de chiyuv on either of the 2 nights, and you should be machmir accordingly. What was that? And we come says Arukh never regardless. Isa shum tavnish. You can't literally put any spice or herb into the dough. If they have a little bit of sharpness. And they will heat up the dough. But the other all mutter except for salt and pepper. Yesh mishom, and those say the pilp afil korda cham mechamemes kol. So they want to say that even one crystal of pepper heats up the entire dough. So to plaster falls into the mixture. But that's only if it's kneaded into the mixture. Enough isa, but if it fell on the mixture, isa kena. On there you can remove it. Zangvil, ginger, the negelach. I forget what that is. I remember what it is. The karkum, shekorin saffron, and chadim. And they are sharp, ma'od, very sharp. Both say feel my based on the answer, even a little bit of them was mixed into the dough. She says zangvil is like peppers, also the neglach and saffron, the same thing. Some say the altered sorts of spices, except for pepper and plaster. Plaster, I know I mentioned it's not spice. It's mutter b'diavad even to eat. Okay. Tough and vav. Shir kamus lishas hamatzos. The amount of matzah you make in the batter. Have English in pay pesach isuk dough. You can't make on pay pesach a large dough. Gdol mishir challah shu isaron less more than the isaron. Shir challah is about 5 pounds. So you say for 10th. They for veim b'shir memgil beitzim b'chomesh shu beitzim beinonios show beitzas tanigos. And the shir that is 43 eggs worth and a fifth 43 and a fifth eggs worth of average eggs. Kate Shara, she reckon this. You can't clean molly mine. Take a vessel full of water. We are mine with kli acher. Bekonis. You should put the 43 eggs into the first vessel now empty. Then empty out the water for the second vessel. Back to the first one. Those which remain the second time. Heim midas habeitzi. Okay, that's the meat of the eggs, which you need. Meat of eggs, which the dough has to meet. Might also add a little bit more. They chomish beitza in order to meet the criterion of another fifth of an egg. Kashir is that if you have the shir, klama kli marsi kashir elu hamayim anisharim. The vessel which holds this amount of the water which remains. Haim shir chal. This is shir chal. It's later b'mutzak. Shal shishas kemel shir chal. Because we believe 3 liters about 3. About 12 ounces altogether. L'kemak l'shir challah. You have to make a challah of 12 ounces in order to be chayav in challah. We are there. Simon Chavdal is about od b'zeh and sham. It's more explain more in your there. Base Thomas over why we should not have the issue. Some menachs b'li ase b'kamas matit chametz. Even though there's a amount of time that you can leave dough unworked, it's not going to chametz. When she's by seeing tough like that, like we'll see. Become number it's isa b'li ase should not leave the dough without being worked over afrega achas even for a moment. Which I'm sure make it wrote there. Shir chachamim reckon she isa she kamosa b'kamusa. Yes, b'shir chala a shear. A dough which is, in the quantity is more than a shear of chal. Lo yaspika adayim maso b'chol isa. The hands will not be able to be involved with all the entire dough. And some of the dough is going to be left unworked. But if it's up to the shir challah, you can work the entire dough at basically simultaneously. Obviously, it's not going to really simultaneously, but within a time frame. Shir challah. Torah, Mikdash. I'm sorry, I skipped. Sorry. Abakshir Chalot. Have a god lechem panim, but you lost mishneh esroim b'amach. Aside by lechem panim, they used to do two esroim at the same time. Ashrei kol chalot so kashir so because each chalot to be that size of lechem panim. V'vosh b'Torah actually 12. No, never mind. Eilam made mikdash. We don't know if the base of mikdash. The chametz. The Kohanim using him. The Kohanim work diligently. Therefore, if it took longer to knead the dough, ain't also so we don't say it's also. The need of shemim mikdash. Like okay, true for some amount of time. It wasn't. Not all dough was being worked. Come. Nevertheless, which is not cannot possibly come to the shir. I become chametz. Chatchila lasim yosem mikashir. Basala sos kain. Some people put more in the shir in, and now I'll do it. Even though the sages of France asked this, even they says, but even if you have this large matzah, it's okay.